Most people have never heard of Hedy Lamarr. Those who have usually remember her as a stunning Hollywood actress from the 1940s. But here's what they don't know. Every time you connect to Wi-Fi, use GPS, or pair your Bluetooth headphones, you're using technology that exists because of her. Lamarr held a patent that would become the foundation for virtually all modern wireless communication. She was a legitimate genius who invented frequency hopping technology during World War II. Yet, for decades, the world only wanted to see her face. They completely ignored her mind. This is the story of how one woman's brilliance was hidden in plain sight, and how her invention quietly changed the world as we know it. Hedy Lamarr, whose full name is Hedwig Eva Kiesler, was born on November 9, 1914, in Vienna, Austria. Her family was well off and Jewish, and she was their only child. That detail matters because it meant she received her parents' complete attention, particularly from her father. He worked as a bank director, but more importantly, he possessed an insatiable curiosity about how things worked. Most fathers might take their daughters for simple walks through the park. Her father turned every outing into an engineering lesson. During these walks through Vienna, he would stop and explain the mechanics of everything they encountered. He'd point to a printing press and break down exactly how the rollers transferred ink to paper. He'd explain the gear systems that made streetcars move along their tracks. These weren't dumbed-down explanations for a child. He spoke to her like an equal, dissecting complex machinery into understandable components. Young Hedwig absorbed everything. By age 5, she demonstrated exactly what those walks had cultivated in her mind. She found her music box, the kind that played delicate melodies when you opened the lid, and she systematically took it apart. Piece by piece, she disassembled the entire mechanism to understand how it produced sound. Then she put it back together. It still worked. By this time, most 5-year-olds were still learning to tie their shoes. Hedwig was reverse engineering musical instruments. Her mother provided a completely different education. As a concert pianist, she introduced Hedwig to the arts with the same intensity her father brought to mechanics. Piano lessons started early. Ballet followed. The combination created something unusual, a child who could understand both the precision of engineering and the expression of art. She learned to think analytically while feeling creatively. When Hedwig turned 16, director Max Reinhardt discovered her. Reinhardt was a major figure in European theater, and he saw something in the teenage girl that convinced him to take her to Berlin for acting training. She studied under him, learning the craft of performance. By 1930, at just 16 years old, she appeared in her first film role in Geld auf der Straße, which translates to Money on the Street. The role was small, barely noticeable, but it marked the beginning of something that would both make and complicate her life. In 1932, Hedwig landed the role that made her famous across Europe. Ecstasy was controversial because it featured her in nude scenes, which was shocking for that era. The film generated massive publicity and made her name recognizable. She was 18 years old and suddenly known throughout the continent. Among her many admirers was a man named Fritz Mandl, one of Austria's wealthiest munitions dealers. He saw her perform in a play called Sissy and became obsessed. Mandl pursued her relentlessly, and in 1933, they married. She was 19. He was one of the richest men in Austria, controlling a vast weapons manufacturing empire. What seemed like a fairy tale turned into a nightmare almost immediately. Mandl was pathologically jealous and controlling. He tried to buy up every copy of Ecstasy that existed because he couldn't stand other men seeing his wife's body on screen. He spent a fortune attempting to erase the film from existence, but the jealousy was just the beginning. Mandl treated his young wife as property, not a person. She later described him as the absolute monarch in his marriage. She had no freedom, no autonomy, no voice. He dictated where she went, who she saw, what she did. She became a decoration in his world, required to look beautiful and remain silent. She was trapped in a gilded prison, surrounded by wealth, but completely powerless. Mandl regularly hosted dinner parties at their home, and his guest list was terrifying. High-ranking military officials attended. Business partners with connections to the Nazi Party sat at their table. Arms dealers from multiple countries came to negotiate. Mandl discussed weapons technology, military strategy, and munition systems, while his silent wife poured drinks and smiled on command. Here's what nobody realized. She was listening to every word. While they dismissed her as merely decorative, she was absorbing detailed information about torpedoes, radio-controlled weapons, and jamming technologies. Her analytical mind, trained since childhood to understand mechanical systems, processed these conversations with perfect clarity. They talked openly because they assumed she was too beautiful to be smart, too young to understand, too female to matter. She spent 4 years gathering information she never wanted while living a life she couldn't escape. But the marriage became unbearable. In 1937, she made her move. The exact details of her escape vary depending on your source, but what they all have in common is that she fled to London, leaving behind Mandel's control, but taking with her 4 years of weapons technology knowledge stored in her brilliant mind. In London, fortune finally smiled on her. She was introduced to Louis B. Mayer, the legendary head of MGM Studios. Mayer saw potential in the beautiful Austrian actress and offered her a contract. She accepted immediately. She also accepted a new name. Hedwig Kiesler became Hedy Lamarr, named after a silent film star. She boarded a ship to America, leaving behind her old identity and her terrible marriage. Hollywood promised freedom and fame, but Lamarr was about to discover that America had its own ways of ignoring brilliant women. Hedy Lamarr arrived in Hollywood with everything the studio system wanted: stunning looks, European sophistication, and an accent that American audiences found exotic. MGM put her in film after film, and she became a star. But success in Hollywood meant being seen, not heard. Definitely not listened to. Studios had zero interest in what their actresses thought about anything beyond their next role. Lamarr played along publicly while maintaining her inventing habit privately. She set up a full inventing table in her home, complete with drafting equipment and tools. This was extraordinary for a Hollywood actress in the late 1930s. While other stars decorated their homes with awards and glamour shots, Lamarr created a workshop. She would spend hours there working on various ideas and mechanical concepts. Then she met Howard Hughes. The eccentric billionaire was known for his aviation obsessions and his willingness to pursue any woman he found interesting. He found Lamarr very interesting, and they began dating. But something unusual happened. Hughes didn't just want her for appearances. He actually recognized her intelligence and actively encouraged it. Hughes gave her a small set of equipment she could use in her trailer on film sets. Between takes, while other actresses were touching up makeup or reviewing lines, Lamarr was working on inventions. She had her home workshop for bigger projects and her trailer set up for quick ideas. Hughes took her to his airplane factories and showed her the entire production process. He introduced her to his engineers and scientists, treating her as a colleague rather than just a beautiful woman he was dating. The airplane visit sparked one of her early innovations. Hughes wanted to build faster planes to sell to the US military, and Lamarr wanted to help. She approached the problem systematically. She bought a book about fish and a book about birds, then studied the fastest species in each category. She analyzed the streamlined fins of the fastest fish and the aerodynamic wings of the fastest birds. Then she combined these natural designs, sketching a new wing structure that incorporated both principles. When she showed Hughes her drawings, his response was immediate: "You're a genius." Those 3 words mattered enormously. Here was one of the most successful innovators in America, a man who built aviation empires and revolutionized film production, and he recognized her intellectual equal. He didn't find her intelligence surprising or unusual. He simply acknowledged what should have been obvious to everyone. She was genuinely brilliant. Her inventive mind kept working. She developed an improved traffic stoplight system. She created a tablet that would dissolve in water to create a carbonated drink similar to Coca-Cola. None of these inventions made it to market, but they revealed her constant drive to solve problems. She would look at existing systems and immediately see ways to improve them. As she put it herself, improving things comes naturally to me. But improving things was about to take on life or death significance as the world moved toward war. In 1940, Lamarr attended a dinner party where she met George Antheil, a composer known for his experimental music and film scores. Antheil had a reputation for being unconventional, having once created a piece called Ballet Mécanique that required 16 synchronized player pianos. He understood complex timing systems and mechanical coordination. He and Lamarr started talking, and the conversation quickly moved beyond small talk. Europe was being destroyed. France had fallen. Britain was under bombardment. Lamarr felt guilty sitting in Hollywood safety while people suffered. She told Antheil directly that making money and starring in films felt wrong when the world was falling apart. She wanted to do something meaningful. Antheil shared her concerns. They both wanted to help the Allied war effort. Lamarr had knowledge that could actually help. Those years of forced silence during dinners with Mandel's arms dealer associates had given her detailed understanding of weapon systems, particularly torpedoes. Radio-controlled torpedoes existed, but they had a critical weakness. Enemy ships could detect the radio signal guiding the torpedo and jam the frequency, sending the weapon off course. The torpedoes were essentially useless against any prepared enemy. So, Lamarr and Antheil began working on a solution. They met regularly, combining her weapons knowledge with his understanding of synchronized mechanical systems. The breakthrough was radical. Instead of using one fixed radio frequency, they would make both the torpedo and its control mechanism simultaneously jump between multiple frequencies. The transmitter would send a signal on one frequency, then both transmitter and receiver would hop to a new frequency, then another, changing 88 times across the radio spectrum. The enemy couldn't jam what they couldn't predict. By the time they identified and jammed one frequency, the signal had already moved to a different one. The frequency hopping happened so fast that the torpedo's guidance remained stable and accurate. Antheil borrowed the concept from his player piano work, where multiple instruments had to stay perfectly synchronized. They used a mechanism similar to piano rolls to keep the transmitter and receiver hopping to the same frequencies at the same time. They then filed for a patent on August 11, 1942. The patent described a secret communication system designed specifically for radio-controlled torpedoes. Lamarr and Antheil then presented their invention to the U.S. Navy, expecting the military to implement it immediately. The Navy rejected it. They weren't interested. Some reports suggest that they thought it was too complicated. Others indicate they simply didn't take a Hollywood actress seriously as an inventor. So, they filed the patent away and ignored it completely. Lamarr was devastated, but redirected her energy. If they wouldn't use her invention, she would support the war effort with what they would accept: her celebrity. She went on tour selling war bonds, using her fame to raise millions of dollars for the military. In 1953, she became an American citizen, formally adopting the country she had helped defend. The patent sat unused while Lamarr continued her film career, but brilliant ideas have a way of staying alive, even if it takes decades. Lamarr's patent expired in 1959 without earning her a single cent. 17 years after she invented frequency hopping technology, she had received zero recognition and zero compensation. Her film career wound down around the same time, with her last credited role appearing in 1958. She stepped away from Hollywood at age 44, and the world essentially forgot about both Hedy Lamarr, the actress, and Hedwig Kiesler, the inventor. But the military hadn't completely forgotten her patent. During the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, the Navy finally implemented frequency hopping technology on their ships. They didn't credit Lamarr, they didn't pay her, they didn't even inform her. They simply used the system she had invented 20 years earlier. The technology proved exactly as effective as she had designed it to be. The real explosion came later as wireless communications evolved. Engineers developing new technologies kept rediscovering the same principle Lamarr had patented in 1942. Spreading signals across multiple frequencies made communications more secure and more reliable. The concept became fundamental to modern wireless systems. Wi-Fi uses frequency hopping spread spectrum as part of its core functionality. Your wireless router constantly switches between different channels to maintain a stable connection and avoid interference. GPS satellites use spread spectrum technology to send accurate positioning data. Bluetooth devices hop between 79 different frequencies 1,600 times per second to maintain connections while avoiding interference from other devices. Every smartphone, every wireless headset, every smart home device, every military communication system uses principles that Lamarr invented. And for decades, nobody connected these technologies back to her. She lived quietly, largely forgotten by both Hollywood and the technology world. Then, in 1997, the Electronic Frontier Foundation decided to recognize pioneers in digital communications. They awarded Lamarr and Antheil their Pioneer Award, finally acknowledging what they had created 55 years earlier. Lamarr was 83 years old. She also became the first woman to receive the Invention Convention's Bulby-Nass Spirit of Achievement Award, recognizing inventors who made significant contributions to society. These awards came near the end of her life, as Hedy Lamarr later died on January 19, 2000, at age 85. 14 years after her death, the National Inventors Hall of Fame inducted her for developing frequency hopping technology, the same organization that honored Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell, and the Wright brothers added Hedy Lamarr to their ranks. She is now often called the Mother of Wi-Fi. a title that captures both her contribution and the long-delayed recognition. Hedy Lamarr died before the world truly understood what she had given them. So, what do you think about Hedy Lamarr's incredible story? Did you know about her inventions before this video? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this story fascinating, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more untold stories of brilliant minds. Until next time, stay curious.